Hi, it's Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome to Career Coach Office Hours. People hire me for no BS career advice. That can relate to job search, hiring more effectively, management, leadership, career transition, or advice about a particular workplace issue. If you've got a question that relates to that, put your questions into chat so I can address them during the show. I also want to mention to you to connect or follow me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/, the big game hunter. I'm going to leave that on the screen for a moment and also mention to you that I have a great website at thebiggamehunter.us. There, you can schedule time for a free discovery call, schedule time for coaching, find out about my courses, books, and guides. There's just a lot there that's going to help you. There's more than 12,000 posts in the blog at this point that you can watch, listen to, or read that will help you. Lastly, before we start the show, I'm just going to mention subscribe to JobSearchTV.com on YouTube. You can also watch that app on Amazon. If you've got a Fire TV or a Fire Stick, you can download the JobSearchTV.com app. It's terrific, and you can watch my show on your big screen set. It also appears on BingeNetworks.tv, which deals with 300 streaming services around the world. Also, subscribe to No BS Job Search Advice Radio and Apple Podcasts, Spotify, where it's a video podcast, Amazon Music, Google Play, wherever you listen to a show. And again, if you've got a question for me, you can put it into chat or just say hi to me. I love when people say hi. Just put your message to me in chat. I'd be very happy to answer. And it was quirky last time. I noticed someone messaged me and I didn't get it until after the show. And I think that was from LinkedIn, where normally there aren't any problems, but there was last time. So if you don't get a response to me from something in chat, I apologize in advance. Sometimes tech can be a little bit wonky, as we all know. So I've got a question from someone. Actually, I receive questions in advance from people. And the first one starts off by saying, bear with me. There we go. Is it okay to apply to multiple jobs? There we go. At one time or go to multiple interviews? Yes. Just like they interview multiple people, you can go to multiple jobs at one time and apply to multiple jobs at the same time. After all, there's no commitment on your part. There's no obligation to do things sequentially, like, only apply to one job and only interview with one company at a time. The issue for you is if you were to do something like that sequentially, you might miss out on some great opportunities. And that doesn't make sense because there's no commitment from an employer's part that they're even going to interview you, let alone hire you. So I'll just simply say, by all means, interview with multiple firms concurrently. So in this way, you can find the best job and opportunity for you. Should you take work advice from a staffing company? Now, a staffing firm I associate with a temp firm. They're putting people into slots at clients of theirs. You're on their payroll or you're contracting through their firm, and thus you are presented as a representative of their organization. Now, ultimately, if they're giving you bad advice, for example, the wrong way to solve a particular technical problem, I wouldn't follow bad advice, but I would say that you work for them. And just like any employer, you take direction from them. But if they're going to ask you to do something illegal, immoral, wrong, Don't do it. Don't act out because someone at the staffing firm tells you to do it. I just simply might speak with the client and say to them, I'm being encouraged to do this. Um, I'm asked, my personal opinion is we should do that. Which would you prefer? And then from there, let the client make a decision. If they choose your idea, you can tell your employer what the choice is. Now, the caveat to all of this is you should not do something that springs a financial burden on your staffing firm because then you're screwing them. And I'm sure you don't want to do that. But I'll just simply say, barring that, give the client the choice. To me, that makes the most sense. Now, it has been a week and a half since my final interview. The recruiter emailed me to say they're interviewing another candidate. The decision will be made in a few days. I feel defeated after this. Does this mean I won't get the job? No. It means they're shopping and they haven't firmly made a decision. They see you and this other person as potential hires, and they're making a comparison. Just like if you went to a car dealership and you said, I'm looking at a Volvo and I'm looking at a Subaru, should the salesperson, either dealer, feel defeated because you're looking at another car? No. So I'll simply say they haven't made a choice yet. You're still under consideration, and good luck. I'll just remind you that if you've got a question for me about any of these things, put it into chat. I'd be very happy to answer your question. Also, connect or follow me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/The Big Game Hunter. Visit thebiggamehunter.us to schedule time for a free discovery call or time for coaching. I'd love to help you. The blog has thousands, like more than 12,000 posts that you can watch, listen to, or read that will help you with regard to your job search and all these other things that I have previously mentioned. And subscribe to JobSearchTV.com on YouTube. You've heard me say this before, and I hope I get a question from one of you people who's watching the show today. Now, here was a fun question. Sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing. Let me just scroll down. What are an employee's rights against abusive bosses and coworkers? What's in your employer handbook? What procedures are you supposed to follow according to that handbook? Now, I want to be clear. If there's sexual harassment or physical violence being perpetrated by your boss, you get the heck out of there. You file a complaint with police, and you walk out of the office. You get an order of protection if you've been sexually harassed. I'm not sure about best course of action with physical abuse, but I might contact an attorney if there were examples of that. Now, some people will talk about an abusive boss because they press them hard to do work. We're not talking about that. We're talking about serious abusive behavior when I'm answering this question. I don't know what you mean by an abusive boss or coworker. Sometimes an abusive coworker refers to someone who said something out of turn that was critical of an employee. And I would meet with my manager to get that resolved so that you don't feel compelled to leave. If your manager won't intervene, then I start looking for another job. But your rights are defined in the employer handbook. You can contact your state's labor department, describe the situation, and see whether this constitutes what they would legally consider an abusive behavior on the employer's part. Good luck with this, okay? Here we go. Another question. There we go. I submitted my letter of application to a certain company 2 weeks ago, and I haven't received any response. Is it good to call and follow up? Yes. Now, you may not get through. You may need to leave voicemail. But let's say you submitted, I don't know if that was done through an applicant tracking system or was done by email. I would simply, in leaving a voicemail message saying, I uploaded my resume or I emailed my resume to you on whatever the date was. I haven't heard anything back. Just want to express my interest and follow up to see if you want to interview me. If not, my feelings won't be hurt. I'd appreciate being told I'm not being considered. I'm okay with that. I prefer to be considered, but I'm not going to get into an argument. I might just simply ask on where I was perceived as being deficient. So I learned from this, but other than that, I just want to make sure you saw my resume, saw my application, and I can move on from there. Good luck. Now we've got another question here. What does it mean when the company's recruiting team contacts you for interviews but doesn't have open positions listed? It means they haven't had the time to put it on their website or post it on LinkedIn, Indeed, or any other place for that matter. So it may be a newly opened rec. It doesn't mean anything more than when you start the interview with them. I would start by saying, hey, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about my background with you. Could you tell me about the position you're trying to fill? And that way you know what the target is for the role. It may mean that they anticipate something coming up too, but it doesn't mean that there's nothing really to worry about here or be concerned about. It may just, well, I think I've given you the best answer with what I've said so far. Okay. What will you do or what should you do when your leader talks to you for 2 hours and they're in a chair and you're standing? What does it mean? Okay. Um, 2 hours. Now, a lot of people exaggerate on time, but I'm not going to take it that way. I'm going to mean literally 2 hours. So I'm curious why you didn't ask if you could sit down for a second. Seriously, why didn't you ask whether you could have a seat since this was going on for a long period of time? What leader doesn't have a chair for you to sit in their office? Now, maybe they have a really small place. I wouldn't expect it so small that there aren't 2 chairs there. But no matter, what does it mean? Well, number one is you either did something extremely seriously bad or they are oblivious to time and what have you that goes into this, with the result being I would just treat it as them being oblivious. And this wasn't necessarily a power trip. Maybe it was. I have no way of knowing from the question, but those are the 2 things that come to mind. Now, next question is why do companies, let me just get this on the screen. I copied the wrong thing. I apologize. Let's go. Is it weird? It's not copying. I'm going to try it one more time. And let's see if it does the right thing this time. There we go. Why do interviewers look for the 5 important characteristics when hiring technicians or technologists? Only 5? And I'm not being flip here. Most firms have fairly detailed job requirements that cause them to look for more than 5. But these 5 characteristics may be the most important things that they've determined from previous hires that would cause someone to be successful. So they do it because they're evaluating people to do a job who have particular skills and experiences. This firm appears to have it narrowed down to 5. I know of firms that done 10 or more, and the result, winds up being that 5 is no big whoop. Can someone learn how to lead and manage people effectively without having any prior experience or natural talent at it? Yes. Do you think 8-year-old boys and girls know how to lead and manage? Of course not. Do you think 22-year-old men and women can effectively lead and manage 40-year-olds, 30-year-olds? Do you think they can learn how to do that? Do you think with guidance and mentoring, they can learn? Yes, they will make mistakes. Now, the interesting part of the phrasing is natural talent. Very few people have natural talent. They've had previous experiences where they've had the opportunity to manage and lead, and probably more manage than lead. But no matter, uh, people can learn. People will make mistakes while they're learning. If you're speaking of yourself and you describe yourself in this way, no natural ability or previous experience, understand everyone makes mistakes. And you will make mistakes while you learn. So I'd simply say if you looked at your current profession and imagined yourself a few years before, you had to learn how to do stuff, right? It's going to be the same thing with managing and leading. So the long and the short of it is, yes, people can learn and they may have had no previous experience for it, and they can learn. They can make mistakes along the way that will cause people to resign, be angry at them, a whole host of things. Maybe they don't manage their time well and will need to learn how to do time management to guide staff better. But no matter, yes, people can learn. I submitted my application to a certain company 2 weeks ago. Oh, I think I answered this earlier. I'm not sure how this question got through twice. Excuse me. I'm just looking here. Yeah, that's a repetition. I apologize. Let me get to another question. Is getting through a job through an IT staffing company worth it? As opposed to, as opposed to, um, I'll just simply say, if they can help you get a job, why not? Why not do it that way? You know, what does it cost you? It saves you time. They know what their client needs. You fill the job, great. But understand, when I see a question like this, I'm starting to think that maybe you think that they work for you. They don't. They work for an employer who pays them, and you don't pay them anything. So they're not out trying to fill a job with you. I'm sorry. They're not trying to get you a job. What they're trying to do is fill a job for which an employer has hired them to find someone. And after they do that and you work there for a period of time, you will get paid, or they will get paid, and you will have a job. So Yeah, try it. But don't purely rely on that. Positions are primarily filled as a result of networking. So go out there and start networking with people you know and people you don't know. I'd like to go back to a job I lost. Does it make sense to apply at another staffing agency that's recruiting for the same company? Why did you lose the job? Was it performance or they lost the contract and were removed as a vendor and thus you lost the job? So, without knowing that, if you lost the job because of performance, going to another staffing agency isn't going to help you get a job. You failed. You failed. And you won't get hired, so there it won't matter. But if you lost it because they raised rates, then it's a different story. Ask your former manager if they take you back from another vendor. So if they won't, don't sweat it, okay? Move on. Let's see. I'm going to do one more question today and then wrap up, okay? Do bosses think negatively of employees who leave their jobs to follow their dreams? Some will. Some will, because they'll think of themselves. You're leaving me in the lurch. It's like someone being divorced and they didn't see it coming. They feel hurt and wounded. And as a result, they feel negatively, to use your term, towards you. As a result, there are some firms that won't care. They are used to people leaving. It happens. You go to a better opportunity. You wind up following your dream and your passion. You go elsewhere. It's nothing personal. You're doing something that makes sense for you. So I'll just simply say, if you're someone who is in this position, act on it. Follow your dream. Get something that makes sense for you. Work shouldn't be about drudgery. What it should be about is doing something that engages you and interests you and gives you more happy days than not. Good luck. So, unless I get a question in chat, I'm going to wrap up and say, I hope you found today's show helpful. If you did and you're watching on YouTube, share it, leave a comment, click the like button, do something that lets people know it was worthwhile. Also, connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/the big game hunter. You can either connect with me or follow me. Either way is fine. Also, visit my website where you can schedule time for a free discovery call, schedule time for a coaching session, find out about my courses, books, and guides. There's a lot there that will help you. Also, subscribe to JobSearchTV.com on YouTube, download the app on Amazon, watch it on BingeNetworks.tv. That goes out to more than 300 streaming services, and subscribe to No BS Job Search Advice Radio in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, where it's a video podcast, Amazon Music, Google Play, wherever you listen to podcasts. And let me just see if anyone else has put a question in the last minute. Nope. And again, people hire me for no BS career advice. Have a terrific day and be great.